let's say that you were able to talk to yourself when you were a kid,
Yeah.
and you saw yourself, running and doing these things, and you could say, hey, look, I know you want to be in better shape. Just know that someday you're going to have the physique that you want, as long as you continue to work for it, as long as you find things that you love as forms of exercise. Like, you might have to find martial arts or something, because martial arts is going to keep you super active. You're going to burn a ton of energy, burn a ton of
Hmm.
calories from it. And you might have to find nutrition that you're interested in enough to actually do and to actually follow through with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of this stuff is like stuff that I've learned more recently, but I kind of knew when I was powerlifting, and I wanted to squat 1,000 pounds, I wanted to bench 800 pounds, and these things, and other people were trying to do these kind of lifts and hit these big weights. And when they weren't able to do it, I was just like, they're just not committed to it the way I am.
Yeah.
They're not as interested.
Yeah.
So when someone's trying to strive to do anything, when they're I would be careful that you don't overreach, as I was mentioning earlier. But when somebody's trying to do or be something and they don't end up there, it's purely due to lack of interest. And
Yeah.
there's no reason to be offended by that. There's no reason to be upset by it. Like, if you haven't been able to lose weight yet, it's because you're not interested in it enough to quite figure it out just yet.
Yeah.
But you will be. It's just going to take some steps. And maybe for you, it starts outside with some walking, or maybe it starts in the kitchen, or maybe it starts in the gym.
Yeah.
It starts a little bit different for each person. And it all has to do with interest level. Maybe jujitsu is the key.
Mhm.
Maybe collegiate wrestling, collegiate style wrestling is the key. Maybe swimming, maybe something you did from when you were young. Maybe you used to love to ride your bike,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
haven't been on a bike in a long time, like we saw with Nathan Suplee, who came up here to Super Training a while back. Famous actor,
Hmm.
lost like 100 or actually he lost like 230 pounds or something like that, something wild.
Wow.
So it can be different for everybody, but it's just really all tied to how interested are you in this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The actually my jujitsu sensei used to say this. I loved it because, some guys will come to jujitsu one day a week, some guys will go 5 days a week or whatever. And when guys would leave for a while, or like I went and lived in Thailand for a little while. So when I left he would say things like, yeah, jujitsu is just not a priority for you. And you could see people, yes, it is. And they get defensive. Like, it's like, yes, I want to lose weight. Yes, I want to lift heavier weights. I want to work out. I want to do, and people say these things and you say, no, this is not a priority for you right now. They get so defensive. But what my sensei explained to me is, he's just like, no. What I'm saying is, sure, it is a priority for you, but it's not top priority for you right now. Clearly, because you're choosing other things and you're putting them before your training. And that's okay. If you don't want to be a 10th degree black belt, no problem. Nobody says you have to do that. So the
Why'd you go to
prioritization is
Thailand?
just for fun, actually. So it's actually interesting the way you said it. I gave up the music industry after about 17 years. I still do gigs now. I own a dueling piano company, but I had done, reality TV and the whole shebang and everything. And I was a serious drunk, party like a rock star, really like 6 nights a week, just hammered. And when I finally quit doing bar gigs, like, um, I told myself that I was going to find a way to make money that I could do from online. And I began Clovis, and I sold my supplement that I created and everything, and gave up bar gigs in September 2018 and just flew to Thailand in January 2019, just because I was like, I'm going to be a digital nomad. I'm just going to, and I went there, no plan, booked a hostel for $10 a night, went to a jujitsu gym, met some friends the first day, and like, just lived there for a little over a month, just because I wanted to escape it all. But it was interesting because I had a lot of guilt around leaving the music industry and stuff. And I remember, I was thinking about this while you were talking, when I got this reality TV show on ABC. It was called The Big Time in 2012. And I lost. I came in second place in this thing, like the big last challenge. I came in second place. And I remember it made me cry because in my head, I was like, my grandmother just saw me lose. I don't know why that was the first thought that popped in my head. I was like, my grandma's going to be so disappointed. And of course, she didn't give a shit at all. But my brain like made up this thing, you know. But anyway, long story short, that was just when I left the music industry, going out and moving to a different country and like spending some time. It was like kind of inward healing. I was like, I'm going to go learn about myself, you know?
Yeah, and imagine if you try to explain that to somebody who's going through some trouble, and you said, "Hey, here's what I did." You might have to do something similar. Like I detached. I moved away. I got away from the thing that everybody else thought I should be,
Yeah.
and it made me stronger. And maybe you need to do something similar. And then you see them a year from then, and they're still getting drunk, and they're still, and you say, "Hey, man, I kind of told like." Maybe that's not the thing for you, but I did mention, this is and it just shows that they're not interested enough to kind of
Mm-hmm.
move on to the next chapter. Maybe their route is different than yours. Maybe they just go to rehab and
Yeah.
presto, everything's good. Or maybe I know some people who just literally make a decision to not drink ever again, and they don't somehow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works out that way for people, but it just shows. When I'm thinking about, when it came to powerlifting and somebody was, they're like, they'd come in and they were like, I'm coming from like 45 minutes away. I can only make it in like twice a week. And I'd say, that's cool. And they'd, say, hey, what do you think I can get in a couple of months or whatever? And I said, well, twice a week, coming in twice a week gets you twice a week results.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, what? Like they'd be kind of mad about it. They'd be kind of offended. And I said, well, the training system that we do is 4 days a week. So if you
Yeah.
want to do half the work, then you'll end up with half the results. You need to be here. And it's also just, as from like, especially something like, well, it from jujitsu and from music, but like literally just being around. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you're participating much, but if
Yeah.
you're just at the dojo,
Yep.
someone says, "Hey, man, I saw you do this. I saw you do this move the other day. Well, what was that? Oh, actually, I learned this in Thailand when I was, I went to a jiu-jitsu place and it was totally unconventional, and I learned this move." And they're like, "Huh,
Yeah.
what?" Then the next guy asks, right, and it kind of grows and spreads, and you're there longer than the next guy. It just shows your level of interest is just a notch above. And there's not many secrets. I think people
No.
are always looking for some secrets. But as we pointed out in the very beginning of the show, a lot of these things have been found upon thousands of years ago.